and welcome to Outcomes4Me Perspectives. These are 15-minute conversations with experts, advocates, and patients on the latest topics impacting the breast cancer community. Today, I am joined by Carolyn Johnson. She is a stage 3 breast cancer survivor and the founder and executive director of Twisted Pink. Welcome, Carolyn.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Would you maybe start just by introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about your personal story and what led you to start what is now the Twisted Pink organization?
Sure. So again, my name is Caroline Johnson. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. And 9 years ago, right before I turned 40 years old, I received a breast cancer diagnosis. I was 30, a month before my 40th birthday, and I found a lump in my left breast, went immediately to the doctor, had a diagnostic mammogram, biopsy, ultrasound and biopsy all in the same day. And, I really did not consider it to be something to worry about at the time. I even took my daughter with me, who I think she was 9 or 10 years old at the time, because I didn't think it was going to turn out to be cancer. I have no family history. And then that was Memorial Day weekend. I went in on a Friday. They called me the following Tuesday, it was June 4th, to tell me that I had stage 2 breast cancer. And then it would ultimately be diagnosed as stage 3 after my surgery. It was in 6 of my lymph nodes, so I had to have 18 lymph nodes removed. And then that pushed me into chemotherapy and radiation. But prior to that, I actually was already very involved in patient advocacy for my son, Michael. He was born with a rare genetic mutation on his 5th chromosome. And so he has a microdeletion on his 5th chromosome, and that has caused him to have developmental delays, epilepsy, and autism, and he's nonverbal. And so I spent the first 8 years of his life, he was 8 years old when I was diagnosed, really advocating for him and doing a lot of medical research and how to be the best caregiver for him and provide him the best possible outcomes. And so when I was diagnosed with my cancer, I really had a foundation of patient advocacy already. And I use that whole experience to really help myself navigate cancer. And so I got through it. It was, a long year. I finished my chemo and my radiation and the multiple surgeries that I had to have. I actually did a clinical trial while I was doing my treatment. And I'm happy to say 9 years later, I'm a survivor, but I also know the statistics and the recurrence rates. And so, I think all breast cancer patients have a little bit of fear in the back of their minds always. But I try not to go there. And I started the Twisted Pink organization because what I found about metastatic breast cancer, I asked all the hard questions of my doctors and my medical team about, what is my rate of recurrence if I do and don't do any of this treatment. And, I was really shocked to find that 7 to 10% of research dollars go to stage 4 breast cancer research. And I was ready to go back into the workforce after being a stay-at-home mom for a long time. And I used my background in nonprofits to start my own. So here I am 9 years later, and it's successful. So
wow, that is quite a story. Thank you for sharing all of that. You have been through a lot, both with your son and yourself, but what a beautiful way to give back to the community. That is a challenge, and surprising number to me, quite honestly, that only 7 to 10% of the funding goes to metastatic breast cancer research. Have you learned through your advocacy work or through the organization why that is, what the challenge is with diverting more funds to that area?
I don't know exactly. I can only guess that years ago, we had these early detection save lives campaigns, and I think a lot of money in the breast cancer world has gone into early stage breast cancer and how we can prevent breast cancer from happening in the first place. And it's almost as if the stage 4 patients were being left behind because they're a lost cause, and they're not by any means. We should be putting those women and men at the very forefront of what we're doing, and should have been the way it has been all along. But for some reason that didn't happen. And, I think part of what Twisted Pink is doing, and many other organizations now are doing, is that we want to change the way we fundraise and spread awareness about breast cancer and talk about metastatic breast cancer, because it is out there, and it's more prevalent than what people believe. And younger women are being diagnosed with, higher rates of metastatic breast cancer. And so we really have to do more for that community.
Yes, I completely agree. Along the same conversation around research and funding for research, is often the discussion around clinical trials. So you participated in one yourself, but there are hundreds of them out there. What's your personal opinion on clinical trials? I think personally, I've heard a lot of misconceptions about what they really are and what they really entail. What was it like for you maybe to participate in one, and your community of metastatic breast cancer patients at Twisted Pink? What's the conversation you have with them?
Well, I mean, first of all, I want to say from a personal perspective, I feel like clinical trials are life-saving. And I think there's a clinical trial out there for everybody. It's a matter of finding it and being eligible to participate in the trial. I think access to the clinical trials are a major problem in the adult cancer setting. If everybody had access to a clinical trial, I think a lot more people would live longer, more vibrant lives. And so we really have to do a lot of work to create clinical trials with patients in mind. A patient shouldn't have to travel for a clinical trial, and that's a huge hurdle. I don't know how to change that though. Like, just being one person, other than advocating for change, that's just one step.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I think the awareness piece, and just the education piece. I've heard from multiple oncologists that there just simply isn't enough time in a clinical setting, or in a regular patient a patient meeting, to bring them up most of the time. And so
right.
the onus is often on the patient to find them, and that can be challenging.
And that's true. And that is so true. And that's why, Outcomes for Me, the platform that you all have, if a patient is connected with you and they learn about a clinical trial, they can go in and ask their doctor and kind of force them to talk to them about it. But I do think more patients need to get advocacy training and learn about how they are in control of their cancer, and they have the right to ask questions and learn as much as they possibly can about everything involved. There's no roadmap that you're given when you get a cancer diagnosis. Most people don't get that. So to be able to create your own, it's kind of a perk to have a roadmap. And I feel like I kind of had a roadmap at the beginning because of my son,
Hmm.
because I knew to ask the right questions. I knew to get second opinions. I knew to take somebody with me to the appointments and to have a note taker. I knew all of these things. So I was at an advantage from the beginning, and not everybody is in that situation.
No, that's so right. And I thank you for saying that piece about outcomes for me, because that is something that is core to our mission. We just have a heart for patient empowerment, and helping patients from the beginning understand what their diagnosis is, helping to ask the tough questions or the smart questions to their oncologist, and maybe most importantly is the clinical trial matching piece. So once we understand the diagnosis, being able to present patients with clinical trials that might be relevant to them. So
Yeah.
I'd love to understand a little bit more from this patient education piece and just awareness of overall research. I know you do an annual meeting with your metastatic patients. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, so this year will be our second annual Metastatic Breast Cancer Symposium. It's going to be held next month, June 9th and 10th, here in Louisville at the Brown Cancer Center. It's actually being held at the Kosare Clinical and Translational Research Building. And so the first evening will be a welcome reception with lab tours and just an opportunity for patients and medical team members that will be involved to get to know each other. And then the second day is a full day of learning, and it's learning about metastatic breast cancer research, what advances we've made in the past few years. We have a doctor speaking on updates from the American Society of Clinical Oncology conference, which is being held the week before. And then we will be talking about clinical trials, diversity in clinical trials. We have a patient, Stephanie Walker, who I've met through my work with the Metastatic Breast Cancer Alliance. She'll be coming in from North Carolina to speak on behalf of the Become Project with the Alliance and talk about diversity in clinical trials and including African American women and men in clinical trials, barriers to access and things like that. It's a topic that I feel like if we start talking about in different communities, we can improve outcomes for patients. So we've included that, and she will be followed by a panel discussion on clinical trials. So we'll talk with the audience that is at the event and involve everybody to ask questions and make comments. And what else do we talk about it? Oh, survivorship. We talk about survivorship in the metastatic setting, which not all metastatic patients, think of themselves as survivors, but they're still living. And, to be able to find a way to live life to the fullest, even with a terminal diagnosis, is hard. But I think talking about that brings a new light to the conversation and will possibly help some patients, have more positive desires and find a new normal on their journey.
Yes, that is a really powerful agenda, and just what a gift to that community. So thank you for going over the details of that. And you have quite a large closed Facebook community too.
We do.
Yeah.
And it's been growing year over year. We also have a Box of Hope program that was started just last year during COVID, because we were looking for new ways to reach out to the breast cancer community because we weren't able to interact face to face. And so we've partnered with the United Breast Cancer Foundation, who is a big supporter to the program through product. And they've donated just millions of dollars of product to our organization to help send out these boxes of hope. And the boxes are each filled with educational materials about breast cancer, metastatic breast cancer, but they're also filled with health and beauty items, just anything that a patient would use as something to comfort them and to make them feel special. Sometimes we send socks in the boxes. There's beauty products, makeup. Some days you just wake up and you don't even feel like getting out of bed. But if you have this box and you're like, oh, somebody thought of me. And, we've gotten so many great comments from women that have received these boxes that it's just changed their whole mental being, even if it's just for one day. And patients can receive a box once a year from us through the Box of Hope program. And it's just been a really special, well-received program through our organization.
Sometimes it is just the little things and
Yes.
and having that love and care
Yes.
that can make all the difference and help you get out of bed that day, I'm sure.
Right.
So, yeah, that's awesome. Well, I think that is our time for today. Where can our followers, if they are just learning about you right now, where can they find you?
Well, I would advise everybody to check out our website first at twistedpink.org. We also have a Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter page. We're more active on Facebook. And we do have that closed Facebook support group. and it's for any stage breast cancer patient. And we believe that the breast cancer community should support each other and be inclusive to all stages. And when an early stage breast cancer patient can learn from a stage 4 metastatic patient and support each other and understand what it's like to live with metastatic disease, I feel like, we can really help support the metastatic community even better. So that's why we include everyone in the conversation.
Thank you very much for your time.
You are welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we appreciate you. We'll talk again soon. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Bye-bye.